It's the West Tigers podcast, episode number 320, and Eddie Otto. It's all old school. It's retro. It's just you and me for this edition.
It's Back to the Future, Joel. Just let us know out there, fans, if you want to just go back to the Eddie and Joel show and you want to get rid of Steve, Gary and Declan for good. This is a trial, I suppose.
You could start a social media campaign. It could be something like hashtag ban the blow-ins.
I like that one. I know we got Mitch Wright out there, one of my mates, who says go back to the Eddie and Joel show, but there's plenty of people who probably think exactly the opposite, Joel. So let's see how we go without the blow-ins.
Exactly. Well, we're going to hear from one of the blow-ins. We're going to hear from Gary. Gary did a great job. He took his microphone around on the bus that we took out to Bathurst for the game on Saturday, and he went around the bus and interviewed a whole bunch of the people that joined us, and it was really good. So we're going to play that audio for you shortly. There's lots of one-word submissions through that as well. So stay tuned for that. It was a really, really good trip out to Bathurst. It was very, very enjoyable. All went very smooth, and I think everybody that attended really enjoyed it. So that's very heartening. Do you have one word to kick us off before we share some of these other one-word submissions, Eddie?
No, once again, I couldn't narrow it down to one, but I just went with the first 20 minutes, Joel, because that could have been a very, very different outcome, that first 20 minutes. I thought we were dominant. Could have been probably 18-0 if we executed and the referees did their job, but both those things didn't happen and the game slipped away.
Yeah, well, I'm going to steal a one word. I'll circle back around to that. Let's go through these. Snake, he said disjointed, dirty Reds. One word was progress, which is a good point and is worth covering. Tigers Man was disappointing. Tiger 5150, the one word was sideways. Tiger Ton, basics. Lorenzo, one word Fainus. In other words, he was impressed by the performance of Samuela Fainu and Latu Fainu. Logan R21, execution. Peter A. Peter's one word was implementation, i.e. some signs of Benji's plan being implemented. Tiger Symmetry, their one word was officiation, and I don't know if that's a real word.
I know what he means, though, Joel.
Yes, exactly. And Kiwi Tiger board, I'm going to steal Logan R21's word. I've already got written down execution. I think that's the main point when I was watching the game, and albeit I was watching the game from the northern end of Carrington Park, so I wasn't watching it at home. I haven't been able to watch a replay. I didn't see it from that side-on view, and there's not that there's very many really good vantage points at Carrington Park, but that seemed to be the thing that I walked away from the game thinking to myself, Eddie, is that being able to ice those key moments once again, we just weren't able to do it.
No, and that first 20 minutes I was talking about, we were all over Penrith. Like, we created opportunities. And the two in particular, first one, take it out of our hands. I think maybe I'm being outrageous and having my Tigers hat on here, but I think that's got grounds to be a penalty try when you've got 3-on-1 and Tupou goes through and some guy dives and takes a bloke's ankles out, and it's outrageous that he didn't even get sin bin. Like that, the person in the bunker and the referee should both be dropped for that, because I'm certain that would have been a try and 12-0. And then at the very least, it's 6-0 and you're playing against 12 men for 10 minutes. And then in that ensuing, we did get the penalty, and I'm blaming Charlie Staines for that ball that went into touch. I think he should have been up on the line. There was a tip on when we shifted the ball right, went from Buller to Naden, and Naden passed it into touch. I think if Staines was doing his job, he would have caught that ball and would have been 12-0 playing against 12 men. And, yeah, just you could sort of tell once Penrith are always going to wrestle back the momentum. There were a couple of soft errors that let them score, and then they just sort of did what Penrith did. They sort of played in second gear, defended well, and we never really got back into the game.
I'm going to be a broken record because I've said it a few times, like when you're playing a good team especially, you have got to take every opportunity that comes up or just about, or you're not going to be in the contest. You could feel that if we didn't land that knockout punch, that Penrith would be able to sustain and last longer than us and have that little bit more class and that little bit more cohesion when the chips were down, when the whips were cracking later in the game.
Yeah, well, just also the scoreboard pressure, because I saw like Penrith played the game previous against Manly, and once they got 12-18 behind, like they rarely ever have that, and they have to be forced out of their comfort zone. But when they're 6 down, they know they can stick to their process of not making errors and working the ball with their backs out of the backfield and grind you down. But I was still encouraged that it was not like we didn't create opportunities, especially in that first half. We created the opportunities. We just, like you said, didn't execute them.
Every week we seem to have a discussion about which part of the team needs to be strengthened or improved. I think I've been on record saying I'm not a Junior Tupu fan, and we know that error that he made and compounded by, and I know that he was injured at some point in that process, but we need more from our wingers. If you look at the Cronulla game yesterday on Sunday afternoon, the thrust that they get from their 2, 3, 4 and 5, albeit one of their wingers was on debut, but I thought he was still pretty good. Like, we need more from our 2 and our 5 than what we got when Staines and Tupu were on the field.
It was a mixed bag again. Problem is, I don't see. I mean, Tupou, unfortunately, I think he's got a broken foot, but I know he made that really bad error off the bomb, but I don't see how taking him out makes our backline better, because I know I've been harping on about prototype players, but he does have a bit of speed and power. He doesn't consistently use it, but he did score a try and make 2 line breaks in that 30-odd minutes he played in Bathurst, and I know he made a crucial error, maybe 2 crucial errors, I think, that led to the Penrith tries, but yeah, Charlie Staines had a poor game, and he really struggles, obviously, getting out of the backfield. And I think I liked Brent Naden's performance, but I think we suffered having to move him from centres to the opposite wing.
Just before we throw to the audio from the bus trip back, let's just cover off the backs. I mean, so obviously Tupu is not going to be available. I personally haven't seen much of Lob. I'm not sure. Some people rate him, some people not. You've got Stafford Toa, I think, in the mix. But do you run Naden on the wing? Any thoughts on who we may replace Tupu with, and how do you do that to the best in a backline that's already struggling for impact?
I think Lob is probably the one. Not that I've seen the State Cup, Joel. I'll be honest. I'm like you. I haven't been watching it, but he was the one that played a little bit of trials, was solid. Apparently, well, from what we've seen, he's good in the air, goal kicks, and he's relatively safe. But again, that's not going to add to our backline, someone that's safe. We really need to start looking both within and elsewhere for outside backs, I think, that have a little bit more speed and power, because last week's midweek pod, I compared us to some other teams at the bottom, like Dolphins, Dogs, Dragons, and you look at some of their outside backs, and there's real impact there. And not that our backs aren't trying. I think all of them ran for over 100 metres on the weekend, but it's that ability to ice a half opportunity that we just don't get. We don't get any freebies or any individual bits of brilliance that sets up a try. We have to work for every one of our tries. And again, Joel, it was the 6th game we've played this year, and the 5th time we scored 3 tries or less. And I think the 4th time we scored either 2 tries or 1 try in a game. So I'd rather attack be the problem than defence, because we look really connected in defence. I think we're doing a good job there.
Yeah.
But 95 points in 6 games, and you take out that Cronulla game, it's 63 points in 5 games, which is about just over 12 a game. So there's work to do there, but I'm not saying, like in previous years, sometimes I would have said it's the execution or the halves are letting us down. I think structurally the team looks quite good, and there are creating some opportunities, but there's maybe just that lack of individual talent or flair out there to finish some of them off.
I think don't quote me, but I think we're averaging 18 points a game in attack, which is just not going to win you enough games. Like you'll win some games at 8 if you're averaging 18, but you're not going to win a significant number of games. You need to get up into the 20s. Watching the game from behind, I agree with the defence. Like, even though Penrith, and on paper, not their best team, and that needs to be factored in, but I never felt like the Panthers really stretched us. Like, they had a couple of opportunities, and they were good enough to be able to ice it. But the thing that, when we talk about our attack, is that, once again, I don't know if we've got enough depth in our attack. And maybe we don't have enough speed to have that depth, if you know what I'm saying. Like when you've got fast backs, you're able to get the ball out there and they're able to capitalise on that space simply because they get across the ground quickly. Whereas we seem pretty flat, a little bit sort of like that Melbourne team, that famous Melbourne team of 15 years ago. It was a very flat attack. I don't know if that's the way that they're being coached or what it is. But we always seem to never have much space to be able to operate. And I think that sort of affected Galvin's game on the weekend a little bit.
It's interesting. I've only been to 2 of the 6 games live, the Leichhardt game and the Campbelltown game against St George. And so you don't always see on the television how deep they're getting in attack. But I think, again, it's probably just, that lack of pace. I mean, Brisbane could be getting as deep as us in attack, but the fact is they've got a Reece Walsh who's the quickest man running sideways of all time and could make a 4-on-4 into a 4-on-3 in half a second. And I just don't think we have that at the moment. I thought structurally we looked better, a lot better in attack with Lockie back in the team at 6, and there was a couple of combinations there which really excite me going forward for the future. But yeah, just defensively I thought really good especially the first 25 minutes. Like Penrith have been the absolute masters of just starting their sets really hard, and we matched them early. Like we were getting up and hit their outside backs, Toa and Taruva. They weren't really making many meters, and I thought we were dominating the game just physically the first 25 minutes. And then it sort of evened out and Penrith got on top in patches. But, yeah, I like what I see in terms of the connection in the team, which means, they're responding to the coaching staff, whether it be the systems or the trust factor with the person next to them. I definitely see a lot of progress in that regard. But like you said, Joel, it's 95 points in 6 games, so that's just over 15 a game. It's not close to 18. So relying on having to keep a team below 16 to win a game is difficult in the way today's rules are applied.
So in other words, if you're playing the West Tigers and you restrict them to 16, the chances are you're going to back yourself to get the 2 points against us. So long as you can hold us to 16, you're probably going to be able to beat us. So that's an interesting way to look at it. Let's throw to Gary. Recorded as we left Bathurst, so heading out Raglan and heading towards the mountains. And Gary passed the microphone around, had a really good chat with all of the different people that had joined us on the bus trip. So let's have a listen.
So as part of our West Tigers podcast trip to Bathurst for the Ambush and the West Tigers podcast, we're having a little chat with a few of our friends who joined us on the journey today, and I'm starting with Keith. Keith, one word for today's sad loss to the Panthers out at Bathurst.
I'm going to go execution. I think that we played a lot better. The passing was a lot more crisp. The intensity was there, but we just slacked that final execution with those plays, and a few too many errors in the end cost us.
So you think primarily the errors were the reason we didn't come away with a win today?
Yeah, I think we lost the ball too many times in good positions. Obviously the Tupou error cost us dearly. There's lots of little areas we can improve in, but the effort was there. Very happy.
One word for that game today, Bob.
I think cohesion. I think that's where we're just slightly off. Just it's coming. You can see it coming. There's a good team in there, but I think they just need a little bit of work on cohesion, especially in attack. I think there's a good team there. It's got to work a little bit harder, I think, and they come up against a very good defensive team today.
And they seem to get themselves into good position. It was just that execution, that cohesion that you're talking about that probably cost us in the end.
I think so, yeah. Fifth tackle options could be a little bit better. That'll come. I think we've got 2 very young halves. And I don't think kicking game's a natural thing for Coruscant. So we can't rely solely on Caesar. Galvin was good. It's one area that we can work on, I think, going forward is our fifth tackle options.
So, Michael, like everyone else, I will start with your one word for today's game, the West Tigers podcast tradition of one word.
My one word would be completions. I thought the completions were much too low, and we couldn't consistently build pressure, and that didn't help our attack.
Yeah, it's really that sustained pressure we needed especially against a side like Penrith, because you can't keep giving them opportunities.
Absolutely, yeah, and we just couldn't deal with that pressure, and we could see with our attack that there was just no cohesion at all. So unfortunately, that's just the way it was.
Next up, I'm joined by Bruce. One word to describe the loss to the Panthers today.
Location, location, location. You just cannot give Penrith cheap field position. They'll burn you every time.
And time and again, some really simple errors gave them great field position.
Yeah, and that's they just capitalised on it, and we weren't able to hold them out. Particularly on that side that Tupu was on. I think Benji's going to make some big decisions about wing and what he's going to do going forward.
I'm now joined by Mari, West Tigers Ambush big supporter, avid listener of the podcast. Now, I'm sure you know how we start every pod.
Yes, with one word.
And your one word today is?
It's going to be 2 missed opportunities.
So you're pulling a Steve.
Yes, I am.
And using multiple words.
So I hope Steve's happy with me.
Missed opportunities. I thought that was crucial today.
Yep.
I thought we had a lot of opportunities down on the line and we just couldn't come away with the right result.
And the passes that went astray and over the touchline, that was quite disappointing. But you can see little shoots happening around the place, and Lockie Galvin and Aiden Caesar have did a pretty good job with their kicking game, and Aiden Caesar ran onto the ball pretty well as well.
So I heard you bagging out Steve before we hopped on the bus today, saying how easy you thought the podcast is. Do you still agree with that comment?
No, I don't. And Steve, if you're listening, I didn't say that at all.
No, I'm sure you said you could take his role any day of the week.
I did, and I promise, Steve.
I'm joined by another person who attends most of our ambush events. Ian, one word from you today?
Fundamentals, Gary.
Fundamentals?
Yeah, you've got to be able to catch the ball, pass the ball, play the ball correctly.
Especially, I've mentioned it a couple of times with other people already, but that Tupu drop, I think, was crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think we dropped another kick on our line as well, and I think they scored after that. So,
Steve on the pod is always talking about our inability to defend mistakes, and I think that came through as well.
Yeah, especially against the Premiers, you've got to be able to do that.
Next person I wasn't going to speak to today, because they're actually one of our regulars on the podcast. Your one word for today?
My one word, I'm going to go with a bit of a different direction. My one word for today is close. I think we are so close to getting this team right. We just need, I know it's hard to say that we need more time, but I think that's really, I think today we were really close. Just we were very unlucky that some of those last passes didn't hit. And when they do come off, I think we'll be a force to be reckoned with.
The interesting one for me was the pass to Staines early in the game. Would have been for a second try. Mm-hmm. And from where we were sitting, I wasn't sure whether the pass went in front of him or he was back a little bit, but that was a key turning point in the game for me. Yeah, definitely. I think Staines sort of looked a little bit out of place a couple of times today, and I'm not sure whether that was just because he hadn't really, built that relationship with his inside man, or he was just off today. I just felt like he was a little bit behind in everything that he was doing. He did have some good runs, but there wasn't a lot of energy behind a lot of the things that he did today. I'm now joined by Rachel. Didn't have to twist her arm at all to pick up this microphone. Been waiting for this all day. So I gave you plenty of warning. I think I told you before we got on the bus. One word.
Execution.
Execution?
Or lack of execution. I think the boys are out there trying. I think they did the hard yards. They made the, they were hitting hard. They were making breaks and everything like that, but they just couldn't finalise the play so many times today. So probably execution. The last pass missed a lot of times. A lot of times today. And I think in try-scoring opportunities too, that last pass where we had Penrith on the ropes. So I think that, I think Joel said on the pod last weekend that you might get 5 or 6 opportunities in a game and you've got to ice 3 or 4 of them. Particularly against a team like Penrith. They don't give you many opportunities and you need to take them when they're there. Next up is Leah, who I have heard wants a spot on the pod. Says she can out-talk Steve. So
Steve comes up with about 47 and a half words when he gets asked for one word each week. So what's your one word, Leo?
I've actually got 3 one words.
Here we go, told you.
Failure to capitalise.
Failure to capitalise?
Yep.
Failure to take our opportunities?
Failure to ice those opportunities.
Because we did create plenty of opportunities.
Oh, there was plenty of opportunity. We were inside our 20 plenty of times, but we just failed to capitalise. We have a fear of that white line.
Now, next up, I'm actually joined by a minor celebrity. I have heard over the last couple of weeks that you're being approached while out in public.
That's not a good thing. I want to stay infamous, as they say. But
Oh, you want to be infamous. So we have our chief trivia writer, Yachty, here for a little bit of a chat. Your one word for today?
clunky.
Clunky?
Yep, in the sense that we found a bit of gear, but then we just did it at the same time. So on a better day, it'd be a smooth sailing ride as opposed to up and down.
I'm now joined by Troy. Your one word for today, mate?
My one word is moments.
Moments?
Yes, we just had some chances there, and those moments which we could have taken advantage of, and we didn't quite capitalise. And then they turned into good moments for Penrith because we made an error or gave a penalty away, something like that, and the game sort of changed. The balance swung during those moments.
Next up, I'm joined by Jack. Now, Jack's dad, Troy, has already told him that not to worry because he's going to be edited out of the mix when we put this out tomorrow. I think you've got it over, Dad. So I think we're gone to the expert now.
True.
So one word for the West Tigers performance today, mate.
One word to describe today, probably, I don't know, moist.
Moist?
Moist, yes. I thought, not only was it pretty cool, and, it wasn't, very humid or anything, and I think actually a lot of players, had pretty wet hands, or had a lot of acid.
So you think that led to the drop ball?
Yeah, that's what I think. That's my hype.
Thanks, Jack. That was the most interesting interview of the day.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
There is a prize for that. You get to talk to Yachty the rest of the way back. Next up, I'm joined by Peter. West Tigers podcast tradition. One word, mate.
I'm going to say missed, MISSED, because I can't say missed opportunities. That's 2 words.
That is 2 words, but that's never stopped someone before. Missed opportunities, I have to agree. We had plenty of opportunities down the Panthers end of the field.
Missed opportunity, missed catching the ball a few times, missed directed passes, and a couple of crucial missed tackles.
Yeah, final passes went to the ground too many times today.
At least 5 times.
That bad drop by Tupu was crucial.
Yep. Led straight to points. And he didn't even get back to defend it.
Last of all, there's no one else behind me on the bus. I'm joined by Michael. West Tigers tradition, one word to describe today's game.
Attack.
Attack?
Yeah. Too many errors. Every time we got a half chance, it just didn't get the hand.
A lot of those balls that hit the ground, a couple of opportunities missed for tries. I have to agree, the attack's still looking a bit clunky to me.
Yeah, well, we sort of got the ball in a few positions, and we had a bit of sustained play there in the second half. We didn't get the ball out to Olam at all during that little run of play. Just crowding our centres and wingers, they seem to be getting very close to the sideline.
Yeah, we seem to run them out of space a little bit, I think. I don't think we're straightening that attack enough.
No, when they get the ball, they're 10 metres out from the sideline, then trying to pass it to the winger. It comes unstuck.
There we go, and some really good insight from the people that joined us on the coach out to Bathurst and back on Saturday. A very memorable trip. Hopefully we'll be able to do that again in future. But a couple of people there, they did agree with Dirty Reds, that word progress. Like, I know it's hard because we got beaten and we're so sensitive to being beaten because we've had so many losses. But, I think you're right, Eddie. I think that first 25 minutes, we're starting to look like a football team. We're starting to look like a team that can hold it together. If we could just start converting some of those chances, then the whole dynamic of everything that we're trying to do shifts. And you mentioned some good combinations. Some people have said on the socials that they liked what they saw from Latu Fainu when he was there later in the game. And Galvin, of course, we know what he can do. Do Do you think that, especially when we add Luai in, I mean, is that enough? Are there some optimistic signs there that we'll have a little bit more class to be able to get those results on a more consistent basis? And albeit as well, going on a few things here, Eddie, but I think Appy's still not 100%. That seems to still be my feeling. Very few runs from him against the Panthers.
I think one run for 10 metres, which was very rare for him. I think he played the whole game. So I think there's very good signs in the spine. I think Galvin is going to be a superstar, and I don't throw that word around lightly. And I just think he's such a classy player. And that combination on the left with Samuela Fainu was, I thought, eye-opening and something that we've got to consider in the short term. He's been the other young player that's really jumped out of the ground for me. Probably hasn't been spoken about half as much as Galvin because he's been on the bench and probably came in the shadow of his brother when he signed last year. But I like everything about his game, and he came as a reputation as, you know, he's a bit of a hothead or a clown, but I can see the fire, but I haven't seen any of that real silliness that people have talked about. And he looked dangerous on that left-hand side, more dangerous than, you know, Papali. He's looked the last year and a half. So that's the positive. And I do agree with some of the people there on the bus that says this team look like they're connected. And even in attack, I think they're connected. I think they're being coached quite well, and there's something building there. It's just, like you said, it's the cream on the cake. You've got to find a couple of cream players that Shane Richardson keeps harping on about. And whether, you know, it's been difficult to go out in the market and get them, but hopefully a couple of these young outside backs through our pathways come through, and that might be an easier way of sort of shoring up the backline rather than looking for recruitment all the time.
When we started the year, we were all saying, look, there's one area, albeit we did lose Sean Bloor, there's one area of the squad that looks to have a fair bit of depth or looks to be an area that, you know, we may have had some stocks, and that was our back row. But I think Bateman and Papali, they both try hard, but when you see Samuel Fainu play and what he brings in that same position, he brings something that they just aren't able to do. And that's not a criticism of them. It's the way that Bateman's built. That's just not his game. And Papali seems to be sort of morphing more into your wrecking ball kind of player rather than that dynamic attacking threat back rower. So I think that Fainu is heading for a starting spot in the 11 or the 12. Do you agree?
I think it's something that they'll look at. Obviously, with young players, you're going to get ups and downs. So don't expect, you know, if we do start Samuela in the back row, that he's going to be great every game. But like you said, he's got some attributes to his game that causes the defence problems, which is so important in today's NRL, those edge back rowers. You know, it's not even when they get the ball. It's sometimes just the eyes and the attention they create out the back when they do a lead run and they go out the back. And Bateman had a really good game in Bathurst, you know, but he's not going to run over the top and trample someone or offload. He was sort of playing that sort of typical John Bateman, but he was you can see he does make a difference to our side when he plays. I'd be sort of looking at Papali here, and like you said, the way he's playing, he's becoming a bit of just a battering ram for me. Yeah. And I don't know what it is, whether it's just the athletes now are getting bigger and stronger, and he's sort of come back to the field. We sort of blamed the halves last year for the fact that he didn't have the attacking impact that we want. But I just look at his body type at the moment and go, maybe he could go back to the bench in that prop rotation or play lock in the middle and get Samuela on that left-hand side, and that combination with Galvin, then all of a sudden you've got two attacking threats sort of next to each other.
And then you look ahead to next year when Luai is here, who is a left-side player, so you'd envisage that he'll have a mortgage on that left-hand side. I think that's going to be a good combo. That's something to look forward to. And with Latu as well in the mix, and some people talking about him potentially maybe playing as lock or Galvin at lock. I mean, I think we're starting to see maybe a little bit more signs of where the team might be heading in offense, which is good. But yeah, like I think, and it's not having a shot at Bateman, who I thought was a lot better and a lot more disciplined, which was good to see. And Papali is very consistent. He misses the odd tackle, which is unfortunate, but he does do a lot of work. But I think if we compare our team and you copy and paste that over the top of a lot of other teams, they're not playing with those sort of back rowers anymore. They're playing with more of the Olakawadus and the big guy from Souths, and I mean even Kickow at Canterbury. They just add more attacking flair, more threat out on the edges.
No, yeah, 100%. I've said ad nauseum probably, but unfortunately, you can try as hard as you want, and you can have be well connected and defend well, and I think all those things have improved since 2023. But if you don't have enough people out there that can score tries or help create tries, it's going to be a battle every single week. And there are good signs there, especially in the spine. And then, Samuela Fainu, I'd like to see Latu Fainu used a bit more. I don't know where that would be, whether that be, even if it's locked for 30 minutes or so, or whether he comes on and plays, like a second 5'8" on the other side of the field. I don't know how that works, but I'd like to see him get more than sort of 13 minutes. Over the next few games.
I'm not 100% sure about hamstring. He seems like he may be a guy that has hamstring issues, maybe potentially, which would be a pity if that puts a handbrake on his career. He certainly doesn't look to be shirking the tough stuff. He's not afraid of the collision, so that is good to see. Just with Bateman, I mean, we had a little bit of quote-unquote success with Hastings at lock. I mean, Bateman's got the attributes to be able to, not that I'm having a shot at Fanua Pole, who I think is playing well, but in terms of trying to score more points, trying to create more attacking options, I mean, Bateman, you would think would fit that bill, but when we've tried him there, it hasn't quite worked out. What do you think about Bateman at lock, Eddie?
I've sort of shied away from it from what I saw last year because I don't think naturally he's got the tactical sort of discipline the way he plays. He likes to do his own thing. He likes to cut back across the field and, play like that old style like he did in 2018-19 at Canberra. He wasn't a hard-hitting back row he never really played in the middle. And those ball-playing locks, I mean, I hate to say it, but that Penrith lock, he's exceptional. He does the hard work, but he also connects their whole attack, which gets their halves a little bit wider. And the best guys in the NRL, the Cam Murrays and Yos and Radleys, and there's a couple others that are just exceptional at that role. It's become almost part of the spine, that position. So I sort of agree with what you're saying there, that Pole, whilst I think he's been strong this year, he doesn't probably fit that prototype type of lock. Not sure we have it in our squad. I'd be really reluctant to throw Galvin or Fainu in there long term this year because I just think that's unfair because you're expecting them to match guys. Yes, they could do it in attack, but are you really going to ask those kids to do 45 tackles and the risk of injury? And I just don't think that's fair at this stage in their career. So, yeah, Bateman at lock, he might be something they experiment with again throughout the year, but I'm not sure he's a long-term answer there.
Comparing and contrasting, when Penrith had the ball, the only time that you ever really felt, or that I felt, worried about what Penrith was doing. Like, in the old days, you go and see Manly and you knew that when Lions got the ball, something might happen. Like, they're the players that sort of make you, when you're playing against them, catch your breath and hold your breath for a minute because it's like something's going to come of it. They're the dangerous players. That was the way with Yeo for Penrith, when pretty much you could kind of pick apart what they were doing pretty easily. But when he had the ball, that's when you had that moment. You thought something could happen here. That he seemed to be the biggest attacking threat, and we don't have that.
No, he was like their general. I don't know if you could call him their halfback, but he's their general. He's their leader on the field, especially without Cleary there. But even when Cleary's there, it's him and Cleary that control that team, and that's I don't want to get too negative or worried, but that's the concern I sort of have with Luai, Joel. I've been watching him closely this year, and I would have liked to see with no Nathan there that Penrith throw him into the 7, but they choose not to do that. I know they've had a structure that works and they buy these backup halfbacks that do a solid job for them, but even his game at 6, I don't know what to make of it really, because there's a lot of sort of John Bateman about it, like running across the field and stepping and jinking, and I don't quite know what he's going to do, and I don't know if his teammates know what he's going to do. I know he's very influential in terms of his intangibles, and they love him there, and he's won 3 premierships in a row, starting at 6. But I look at next year and I go, is he really going to all of a sudden turn into a halfback? after what I watched, and I know he's being asked to play a role at Penrith, so he's not being asked to direct the team and kick the team around and do like Isaiah Yeo or Cleary, but it's something that's going to be very intriguing next year, because I just wonder whether, like you said, Galvin's been so good on the left, but then Luai's a left-sided player, and then are we going to stick with Galvin at 6? And that's going to be the combination, Galvin and Luai, but I'm just wondering what's the best combination? Who's going to be the halfback out of those two?
And also, like, making sure that we make that point that Luai is not playing. He has not been given that license to control the team. So we're making some assumptions there. But let me throw it straight back to you, Eddie, because I was thinking about this during the game, and I don't want to take a turn to negative town, but this was the thought that popped in my head. If Luai had been in our team, is that result reversed? And when you're paying big dollars for someone, you'd kind of like to think that would be the case.
That's the issue, Joel. You nailed it there. I was sort of envisaging, him being in our team in Bathurst, and how could that sort of player change our team? Because it's sort of, I think like we said in the midweek pod last week, we've got to get some outside backs, and it's no disrespect to any of those guys, because I think they're all playing really hard and doing a solid job. And I think Justin Olam's been excellent. He's a guy with power. But you just, for instance, that game against St George, Joel, like it's lost because of moments of brilliance from someone like Zach Lomax, just plays that we can't create, And then I was watching, I think, the Bulldogs, and like you said, Kiko and Addo Carr, Addo Carr scoring 2 tries sort of out of nothing. And, that's the frustration. We really have to work for our points at the moment. But, yeah, Luai, I think we're going to have to just wait and see. I don't think you can make any definitive judgments on what you see from him at Penrith, because his role's potentially going to be so different here, and he hasn't been asked to do it. But it would be wrong to not at least just have a question mark on whether he can.
Yeah, definitely. We've jumped around a little bit, but Buller. So watching Buller live, he seems tentative sometimes bringing the ball back. Have you picked up on that? He's safe, he's sound. I'm not having a shot at him, but there's times where you think, he's just a little bit. I shouldn't say this, but a little Tim Maltson when bringing the ball back.
No, well, he was one of my most. I could never get on the Tim Maltson train, Joel, because I just thought he had all the talent in the world, but lacked a bit of heart. He never wanted to run the ball back and never ran it back hard. I don't know if that's just. I've been quite critical of Buller, or just inquisitive, because people throw around words, and even in the media, I think they get lazy with, this guy's going to be a superstar and whatnot. And I think I look at his attributes and I go, I'm not sure if he can ever be a superstar if he doesn't have the speed or power which some of the elite fullbacks in the game have. Even Tyrell Sloan, I know people probably debate whether you'd rather Tyrell Sloan, but he scored that 95-metre try against the Warriors where just no one's going to run him down. I actually really liked Buller's performance in the first half. I thought he's looking more dangerous in attack. He straightened it a couple of times. And then in the second half, just fell into some old habits again. He threw the ball over the sideline where it just a shocking pass to his winger and started running across field. And it's definitely an area, like Gary's been on, an area he's got to improve those kick returns, because when you're a team like us with those, a smaller winger and small centres, you want to start your sets with a bit of oomph. And maybe he's got to put on a bit more size. He's still quite lean, and he's tall, but he's lean. But he's got that laconic, casual sort of nature when he runs the ball.
There's some rumours about Nick Kotrick apparently potentially being on the radar of the West Tigers, maybe with a mid-year switch. I don't think anybody has kind of gone, well, maybe a few people. There's a couple of positive posts on the West Tigers podcast forum, but most of us have kind of gone, I don't know what he would bring that we don't already have.
No, I just think, Joel, he couldn't make it at Canterbury. Like, he was struggling at Canterbury. Like, I know Nick Kotrick 5 years ago was a very good player.
Yeah.
And he might be better than Charlie Staines, but again, he doesn't bring that lightning speed or carry out of the backfield, which are two of the things we need. We need to get, I saw a comment on one of the forums, Joel, we need to get Robbie Farah, just send him over to Fiji for a couple of weeks and say, Robbie, not allowed to come back unless you find the next Radradra.
Or two of them would be even better.
The next Daniela Tuiaki,
Yes.
because that, with just some bullocking winger, we'd kill for something like that.
Yeah, it'd make a big difference. A Tuaki, someone that can make that extra 10, 15, 20 metres and start getting that momentum going. But your buddy Ken Marmalade is available again. Did you?
He's available.
The Titans have said he's free to go. So
I think that would be a step backwards, Joel.
Step backwards. Yeah. All right. We are running a little bit late with this podcast, so this will drop Tuesday morning, and we'll leave it there, Eddie, because you're going to have the big midweek Eddie Otto podcast after the team is named, and
we'll get the blow-ins back in, Joel.
Blow-ins in, and how do you feel at this stage in regards to that Broncos game? It's hard to get a line on our form because we haven't fallen apart, but we just haven't been able to, especially the last 3 weeks, put our best foot forward.
No, I fear this Broncos game, and I fear that it could be the sort of game where we play quite well and get blown away, because that's how highly I rate them. They have speed and power across the park. They get Payne Haas back, Reynolds back this week. Some of those outside backs are just grease lightning. So I think our season, Joel, it's going to come down to the games after that. This game's against Canterbury, this game against Newcastle, who are now missing Kalen Ponga for 12 weeks.
Yep.
They're the games, I think, that, Penrith is a sort of side that's never really blown us away. It's because of the way they play.
Yeah.
They just methodically go about it. But Brisbane, they're the sort of side that could absolutely blow us away. So I'm fearful for this week, but, I'm not going to lose my mind if we get returned over by Brisbane.
And there will be an ambush event before that game, and West Tigers fans, make sure you get out to the game at Campbelltown as well. Campbelltown people, Macarthur people, if you want the West Tigers, I know that we sucked and it was a terribly disastrous and disappointing afternoon against the Dragons, but please go and have another go. I know it's against the Broncos, but still, show up. And
I think I'm going, Joel, but it's almost like they've got a bit. I hate Brisbane Broncos, but they've almost got a bit of that aura about them, like they had in the early 90s, where I think people will go out just to watch them.
Yeah,
you're seeing an absolute megastar, someone like Reece Walsh, guys like that. So I think there'll be a good crowd out at Campbelltown, and stranger things have happened. But yeah, I just think they are the best side in the competition at full strength, Brisbane. So.
And
wait and see.
West Tigers wearing their 2000 jerseys, so it'd be just like that day back in 2000, which doesn't seem like 25 years.
Take a draw. We take a draw.
20-all draw. Yep, would be all right.
I think John Scandalis got that first try. I think off a bomb, ironically. I don't mind those original jerseys, Joel. I know you probably, all those retro jerseys are quite popular, but that'd be cool seeing them wear that. Hopefully they can perform similarly to that first game in 2000.
Yep, that'd be good. If we had a few more stars like we did in 2000, I'd feel a bit more confident. But anyway, we'll see how we go. Thank you, Eddie.
Thanks, Joel.